So emergency water shutoff valves are really important to a house. In an emergency situation, you're going to want to be able to turn this off very rapidly. Fortunately, this is an old PVC valve, and they tend to bind every so often. And where we are located, there's hard water, and that tends to add some calcification to the ball valve, making turning it off really hard. And in this case, impossible. So one of the things you can do to try to fix it is opening and closing it a lot to try to break up those deposits. I'm going to use this for leverage. Almost, but still can't close it all the way. Come on. Good. Is that leaking? It's leaking. Another thing you can do to fix the valve is to replace it. With the valves of the main house broken, I'm going to have to shut the water off at the meter. That should do it. Now, even with the water off, all the pipes are still under pressure, and we need to release that pressure. I'm going to turn on a hose bib. It's a good idea to open up a valve that's really low, and also one that's very high. It'll suck in some air here, letting the water drain out the bottom. So I'm going to use a good quality brass valve for this. This one is a half turn, so you'll be able to turn it on and off very quickly. And it's a full port ball valve that'll minimize any pressure loss through the fitting. In order to connect the brass to the CPVC, I have these threaded adapters. The threaded adapters need to be coated with a Teflon sealant. You want to make sure that you thread them in carefully and don't cross-thread them. The tricky thing about this method is you really only have one chance to tighten this all the way. Once they're tight, I'm going to glue it into place, and I won't know if these connections are watertight until after everything is glued up, and by then it'll be too late to tighten them further. You also don't want to over-tighten them. So there's a sweet spot where it's very tight, but not over-tightened, and you just don't get to know exactly where that is until it's too late. So you can see the fitting is pretty much almost bottomed out in that brass fitting, even though there's still a good amount of threads exposed. Now I'm just trying to tighten it. I think I've gotten it as tight as it'll go without risking damaging anything, so fingers crossed this should be watertight when it's all glued together. Now I gotta do this side. Now it's time to cut into the pipes. There sure is a lot of paint on these, so I'm going to have to scrape some of it off. I'm using this plastic to scrape off the paint. I don't want to use metal and risk scoring into the pipe. That'll make for a bad glue joint. The PVC primer will help clean the rest. There are three different kinds of PVC cement. There's the PVC cement, which does only the white PVC. There is CPVC cement, which does only CPVC pipes, which are that orange color. And then there is all-purpose, which does both. So you're going to want to apply this liberally, but not overflowing. And it's generally a good idea to do both sides. If you let go right away, the glue is going to want to push out the pipe, so you're going to have to hold it into position until it sets a little bit. It only takes a couple seconds. And give it a slight twist, but then leave it alone. So many valves will have an arrow on the valve indicating the direction of flow. This particular one, being a full port valve, doesn't. I'll be using these elbows to connect them. When measuring the width, you can usually mark it so that it's even with the pipe, maybe just a hair short. That will allow this to go on. Now just to make sure everything lines up, I'm going to glue everything that's left all in one shot. So that's it. If I did everything correctly, I'll be able to turn the water back on in 1 to 6 hours. So the moment of truth. I just turned on the water, open the valve, and very uneventfully, there are no leaks. I think we're done here. It's a pull port, it's a full port, it's a pull port, it's a full board port, it's a full board ball valve, full port ball valve. It's a full port full valve. It's a full port ball